Hey everyone, today I'm going to share with you 7 things that every shipper expects from a freight broker. All right, so I'm glad you're here. We're going to start the training here shortly. Again, my name is Dennis Brown. For those of you that don't know me, I've been an entrepreneur for over 27 years, been very, very blessed. Did over $200 million as a freight broker. And I'm also the owner of freightbrokerbootcamp.com, which is the most cost-effective and comprehensive online freight broker training program. So you can check that out. But listen, today is exciting because I've never really talked about this. And I think it's very important that you understand what a shipper, what a customer's expectations are when doing business with them as a freight broker or a freight agent, right? This applies to both. So we're going to start the training in just a minute, but here's the agenda. Number 1, we're going to do the training. Number 2, we may have time to do a free giveaway right after the training, maybe a t-shirt or maybe some cash, depends on how I feel. And then number 3 is we're going to do live Q&A. So if you stick around to the end, you'll be able to ask any questions you have in the chat box, and I will answer those questions to the best of my ability, okay? So that's the agenda: training, giveaway, and then we're going to do live Q&A. So hang around. If you're catching this on replay, hit me up in the comments with hashtag replay. I'd love to hear from you. For those of you that are joining me live, thank you so much. Geez, what happened here? Thank you so much for joining me live. I think there was a little bit of a delay here on LinkedIn because we do stream it on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. So I hope you guys are able to catch this. I hope you guys are able to see this. And again, thank you so much for being here. Give me a quick shout out. Let me know where you're logging in from. Give me the city and state in the comments. I'll try to do a couple of quick shout outs, and then we're going to start the training again. Today, I'm going to share with you 7 things that every shipper expects from a freight broker. Okay. So I want you to truly understand what customer expectations are. So hit me up in the comments. Let me know where you're logging in from. We've got next links from Valley Stream, New York. We've got, Devin from Markham, Illinois. We got Jewel from Atlanta, Georgia. We got Renee from Gastonia, North Carolina. Gina from Southgate, Michigan. We got Brandy and Clark from Alabama. Welcome, welcome. We got people from all over the place. Vibe is with a smile is why Portland, but watching from Atlanta today. All right, cool. So we got people from all over the place. Again, thank you so much for joining me. I'm in the Buffalo, New York area. We usually have people here local in my community. We have people in the United States. We have people in Canada and Central America, the Ukraine, India. We're all over the place. I mean, we've had students in, I think, 16 different countries for Freight Broker Bootcamp. We've trained, and again, I've trained over 10,000 students with that online program, and millions with my free training when you consider YouTube and all these lives that I've done. So thank you so much for joining me. We're going to get started in about 60 seconds. Just we're letting a bunch of people get live here. Hit me up in the comments. I'll try to give you a shout out. If I don't give you a shout out today, then come back next week. But yeah, Adrian from Los Angeles, California, Donald from Herndon, Virginia, Ken from Chicago, Russ 918 from Tulsa, Oklahoma, Kristen from Farmersville, Texas. Welcome everybody. Kenrick from Washington, Joy from St. Louis, Elliot, go Bills. All right, nice. Joseph from Charlotte, MMB from, well, it doesn't even say. Lucretia from Raleigh, North Carolina. All right, guys, listen, thank you so much for being here. Truly appreciate it. We're going to get the ball rolling here, okay? I know you guys are busy. I really appreciate you guys being here. Today, here's my notes, all right? We have 7 very important things that I'm going to share with you today. Jot down some notes. Just quick heads up here, okay? Shut your office door. Shut off your notifications. Give me the next 15 minutes, okay, to share with you these concepts, because these are very important. If you are going to be successful as a freight broker, you need to understand what a customer's expectations are, okay? So, all right, so here we go. Let me grab a quick drink, and then we're going to go live into the training. All right, thank you so much for being here. And again, the price of admission, okay? You didn't have to pony up a credit card. I'm not asking you for any money. Here's the price of admission. I need you right now to hit the like button, and then I need you to share the stream. And at the end, I want you to ask some questions and comment, okay? So hit the like button and share the stream. No matter where you're at right now, hit the like button, share the stream. That's the price of admission. That's what gets me coming back every single week, right? Because I've done these things live for years, but if it gets stale and people aren't interested and they're really not engaging, then I can find some other things to do. I can do some other things to try to enhance the training, but these live trainings have been very popular. And the way I gauge that is by the engagement that I get on these lives. Okay. So hit the like button, share the stream. All right. So here we go, guys. Today, I'm going to share with you 7 things that every shipper expects from a freight broker. All right. So it's very important that whether you're a brand new freight broker startup or a freight agent, or you've been in the business for 6 months or a year or longer, the better you understand what your customers' expectations are, the more likely you are to retain that client and have a happy customer. Okay. It's just logic. So today I'm going to share with you 7 things. Now, there are tons of things, right? But these are the 7 that I see most often when I've talked to shippers, worked with shippers, talked to other brokers and agents. So here are the 7. Number 1, they expect accountability. They want you to be accountable for the things you say, the promises you make. All right. So the fact is, I mean, no one is perfect. I get that. But shippers expect honesty and transparency and accountability, right? From their partners, right? You are now a partner. If they're doing business with you, you're now a partner. So, what the important thing is, you have to make sure you don't pass it off, or worse yet, lie about it or try to cover it up. So accountability is really, really important. All right. You have to understand, there's an old quote, right? Make solutions, not excuses, right? So nobody wants to hear excuses. So number 1 is you have to be accountable. Take ownership. If you make a mistake, take ownership of it. Okay. Very, very important. A customer will really, truly appreciate you taking ownership and providing a solution rather than trying to make up excuses or dodge a bullet. Okay. So that's number 1. Number 2, simplicity. All customers in every industry want you to make buying and serving simple. They want the process of working with you to be simple. They don't want complexity. They don't want to have to do a series of step after step after step after step just to do business with you. You have to make it easy for them to do business with you. Okay. So remove any sort of complexity, any sort of friction when allowing your customer to buy from you or serving them. So remove complexity. They want simplicity. That is an expectation in today's age, right? So that's number 2. Number 3, accessibility. All right. So if you're waiting hours or days or weeks to return a phone call or respond to an email or provide a freight quote, that is not going to work with most shippers. They have an expectation. They expect you to be accessible. If they send you an email, you need to respond to them. If they leave a voicemail, you need to immediately get back to them. If they're asking you a question, you need to provide an answer. If they're looking for a freight quote, you need to turn that around quickly. So accessibility is one of the major things that a shipper is going to measure and value when doing business with you. They will literally pay more to do business with a broker that's accessible than with a broker that can offer a cheaper rate who's not accessible. All right. So keep that in mind. That's number 3. Number 4, innovation and what I would call kind of creative thinking. All right. So shippers are increasingly looking for freight brokers who not only provide great service, right, but also provide a new and interesting perspective, right? And so they want someone who brings innovative ideas to them, who can think outside the box, who's creative, right? I think that's something that's really overlooked in logistics. Creativity is not something that you think about as married in with logistics and freight brokerage and freight agencies or just shippers in general. But I think that if you can think a little bit outside the box and come up with a creative solution or to provide interesting ideas or feedback or perspective to your shipper, it will definitely differentiate you and will be a huge benefit to enhancing that relationship. Okay, so that's number 4. Number 5, collaboration. They want a partner that they can collaborate with that truly understands their business needs, goals, products, processes, everything about that company. They want somebody who truly understands their business, right? And so no longer, they're not being a successful freight broker isn't just being a good salesperson. It's actually being able to collaborate and help that company or customer achieve their business goals. All right. So that's number 5, collaboration. Number 6 kind of goes hand in hand with what I just said. You have to have shippers expect you to have a deep understanding of their business. They want you to understand what makes their business tick. What are their real goals? What are their objectives? What are their new products? I tell everybody that the freight broker who has the best understanding and the best knowledge and is the most knowledgeable about their shipper is typically the broker that wins, right? So having a deep understanding is really important. It's not just about selling, right? It's about truly understanding that customer and being able to provide some sort of a solution or differentiate yourself or to help them achieve their goals faster, right? So that's number 6. And number 7, this is a really important one. You have to be proactive. Now, many freight brokers, in my experience, are reactive. They're not proactive, they're reactive. Meaning when there's an issue, when there's a problem, when there's a challenge, right? They will react and they will work to provide some sort of a solution. The goal is to provide a solution to fix that problem, right? That's being reactive. What shippers want is they want you to be proactive. They want you to provide a solution before they need it, right? So they want you to head it off at the pass. So for example, if you, being able, just a simple example here is rather than if you've got a truck that you're about to dispatch up into a pickup location and you realize that they're not going to make the pickup time because they're too far away and they're going to be an hour late, one of 2 things is going to happen. You're either going to communicate with the shipper and let them know that they're going to be late, which isn't ideal, or you're going to replace that truck and find a carrier that can be there on time for the pickup. So that's an example of providing a solution to a problem before it's a problem, right? So those are the 7. I'm going to bounce through them really quick. Number 1 is accountability. Number 2 is simplicity. Number 3 is accessibility. Number 4 is innovation and creative thinking. Number 5 is collaboration. Number 6 is having a deep understanding of your customer, of your shipper. And then number 7 is being proactive versus reactive. So those are the expectations of every shipper when it comes to working with a freight broker. So I want you to understand something. Sometimes customers have unreasonable expectations. It happens. But you, as the broker, as the agent, you need to understand it's a choice that you are going to make. You are either going to live up to their expectations or you're not. If you cannot handle living up to their expectations, then you can either step aside and let somebody else service that customer, or they're going to push you aside and find somebody else. But the fact is, the 7 that I mentioned to you are not unrealistic. These are very fair, honest, and realistic expectations that any shipper, any customer should have. So take those, absorb it, think about how it applies to your business. And most of all, make sure you hit the like button, comment, and subscribe. And for those of you that are curious about becoming a freight broker or a freight agent, check out freightbrokerbootcamp.com. Trained over 10,000 students, been in business over a decade. Personally, I've done over $200 million as a freight broker. And we offer a 60-day, 100% unconditional money-back guarantee. If you take the online training and you're not happy, just let us know and we'll refund your money 100%. So thank you so much for being here. Again, like, comment, subscribe, so you make sure you get notified. If you're on YouTube, hit that bell so you get the notifications. And make sure you join me every Monday for a new Freight Broker Bootcamp Live. Okay, so thank you so much, everybody. I hope you guys enjoyed that. This is a short training, but I think it's important because I sometimes believe, based upon how my students and how others in social media or through email ask me questions or respond to certain circumstances, that they don't fully understand what the customer's expectations are, right? If you want to understand your customer, all you have to do is look in the mirror. Okay? Look in the mirror. Now, you're not a shipper, you're not a logistics manager, you're not managing freight. I get it, but you are a person. You are a buyer of products and services. If you were buying these products and services from a freight broker, what would your expectations be? Which of those 7 or others do you think would be the most important, right? They're all very important, but some of them you're probably automatically doing. It's just built into your DNA. Others, maybe you're missing the mark. The one that I see that a lot of people miss is accountability and, accountability and probably proactivity, right? They're not proactive and they're not accountable. So, that's just my personal perspective. I'm sure that your experience, your mileage may vary or your experience may vary, but ultimately those are the 7. Make sure you absorb those. I hope you guys enjoyed that. So listen, we're going to jump into, do not put your questions up on the screen yet. We are not doing Q&A. We're not doing Q&A yet. So hold your questions because I'm not going to see your questions once we do the giveaway. So hold your questions until I start live Q&A. Let's do a quick giveaway. All right. I'm going to give away $50. All right. $50 cash. I will PayPal one person $50 cash. And here's all you have to do. It's super simple. All right. So pay attention. Listen, if you want $50 free that I'll PayPal you in the next 24 to 48 hours, you can put it in your gas tank. You can buy your wife some flowers or your spouse a gift or whatever it is you want to do. But I'll give you $50 free to one person that I'm going to be selecting as a winner. And here's all you got to do. Take out your smartphone. Okay. What I want to do is take out your iPhone, take out your Android phone, wherever you listen to music or podcasts. If you're on Apple, I want you to go to Apple Podcast, right? It's natively installed. You don't need to download anything. Just go to Apple Podcast and then search for Freight Broker Bootcamp. You will see the Freight Broker Bootcamp audio experience podcast. It's 100% free. We have over 100 free trainings on there. It's an audio format. What I need you to do is subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. All 3. Subscribe, rate, review, and then come back into the comments and say subscribe, rated, reviewed on Apple. If you're doing it on Apple, that's exactly what you have to say. Subscribe, rated, reviewed, Apple. Now, if you're doing this on Spotify or Google Podcasts or some other podcast app, that's fine. Subscribe, rate, and review, and then tell me you did it on Spotify or you did it on Google Podcasts or some other podcast app. There are tons of apps out there. The ones that I notice people are using the most is Apple and Spotify, right? But go to your smartphone right now, pull up either Spotify or Google Podcast or Apple, preferably Apple because it's where most people listen to podcasts, and do the subscribe, rate, and review, and then come into the comments and let me know where you subscribed, rated, and reviewed. Subscribed, rated, and reviewed on Apple. Subscribed, rated, reviewed on Spotify. And you will have a chance to win $50 cash. And I'll send it to you in the next 24 to 48 hours. All you got to do is subscribe and then come in here in the comments and let me know. And again, this is an honor system. I can't check whether you subscribed, rated, reviewed real time. But before I deliver the money, if I ask you to show proof, of course, that would be a little bit embarrassing for you if you got called out, right? So it's an honor system. So again, subscribe, rate, and review to the podcast. Come back in, let me know. I'm going to select one winner. Then we're going to go into live Q&A. So hang on for the Q&A. It's only going to take about another 2 minutes to do this giveaway. Then we're going to do the live Q&A. And listen, thanks to everybody who's playing along. We got a bunch of people who are subscribing, which is great. And again, the podcast, just so you know, we've been very fortunate. We've been ranked in the top 100 out of all entrepreneur podcasts by Apple. There are tens of thousands of podcasts in that category. We've been ranked in the top 100, and that's all because of you. Thank you so much. Again, I love podcasts because you can listen to it when you're driving. You can listen to it when you're walking the dog, when you're on the treadmill, wherever you're at, you can passively listen to it in the background, and it's 100% free. I don't charge for the podcast. Okay. We've got over 100 training lessons on there, and it's absolutely free. All right. Okay, cool. 30 seconds and we're going to do the giveaway. And I'm going to grab a quick drink. And then again, we're going to do Q&A. Hold your questions until after the giveaway because I will not see them in the stream. Ozan says, subscribed on YouTube, Facebook. He's subscribed everywhere. Apple, rated and reviewed. All knots are on. All right. Thank you, Ozan. I'm glad you're enjoying the training. All right, cool. Here we go, guys. I'm going to randomly select one person. I'm going to close my eyes. I'm going to scroll through the comments. I'm going to point to one person. And this wasn't a setup. Ozan is the winner. He subscribed not only on YouTube, but Facebook and Apple Podcasts, rated and reviewed. Congratulations. I know he's been trying for a while now to get to win. I think he probably may have been trying for the t-shirt before, my Freightpreneur t-shirt, but in any event, you won $50. So here's all you got to do, Ozan. And what I want you to do is go to my Freight Broker Bootcamp Facebook page. I know you know where that is. Like the page and then message me. Message me your full name, your PayPal email address so I can send you the money, and let me know that you won the podcast $50 cash giveaway. Okay. Let me know you won the podcast subscribe $50 cash giveaway. All right. And just make sure you include your PayPal email and your full name, and I'll know that you won. I will send you that cash within 24 to 48 hours after I receive that message. Thank you everybody for playing along. Congratulations, Ozan, for winning. And we're going to jump into the Q&A. So if you guys have questions, hit me up in the comments with whatever questions you have. I will do my best to answer the questions. And here's what I can promise you. I will not get to all the questions today. I'm sorry. There's just no way. I always have way more questions than I have time, but I will do my best to answer any questions that you have. And I do appreciate you being here. Sometimes, even if I don't get to the answers, sometimes I can come back in later in the week and respond in the comments, or maybe private message you and respond. But yeah, if you guys have questions, great. Let me know. Hit me up in the comments and we will do the live Q&A. If you guys don't have questions, right, that's cool too. We could all cut it short. No pressure. If you guys have other things to do, I actually have a contractor here working on my house right now to kind of finish up some last minute stuff in my kitchen. He's replacing some lights and some door handles and all this sort of last minute stuff. But yeah, if you guys don't have questions, that's okay. Don't come up with questions that you don't really need an answer to. All right. Next links asks, what are at least 3 major points one must include in freight broker and freight agent contract? Okay. So let's see here. Okay. All right. So what are at least 3 points one must include in freight broker, freight agent contract? Okay. So, it depends upon what perspective you're doing this from. I always say that a freight broker, freight agent contract should not have a non-compete. It should allow the agents to take their business with them in the event that they've generated those customers. So if an agent comes in and generates a new customer and they decide to leave later, that agent should have the ability to take that customer with them. Now, if there was a customer that the broker was doing business with, and then that agent is now helping support that would be off the table. They would not be able to take that customer with them. So I'm not a big believer in non-competes. I don't believe in that as an independent agent, particularly because you're an independent contractor. And definitely the book for agents, that their book should be portable. They should be able to take that with them. Okay. Number 2 in the contract, it should define the compensation plan, right? It should define the compensation plan and how the compensation plan is created and paid out. It should also include, it really should include the roles and responsibilities of the brokers, the roles and responsibilities of the agents, the compensation plan, and You got to have some ability to terminate. You need a termination clause in there for either the broker and or the agent. So you need something you can agree to there. I mean, the broker agent agreements are really not that complex, right? It's really designed to protect both the broker and the agent. So I hope that helps. Okay, so Elliot asks, how do we get decision makers on the phone after gaining sales intelligence? I keep getting put to voicemail. All right. So the best way to connect with a prospect is to take a multi-channel approach. Now, what I mean by that is you're talking about using the phone, which is a primary channel of communications with shippers, right? With customers, with prospects. So the phone is a primary channel, but there are also other channels, right? There's face-to-face. That's another channel. There's email. That's another channel. There's social media like LinkedIn messaging. That's another channel. So what I find is that if you are getting blocked out or not getting a response from one channel, then start leveraging multiple channels. That's one thing. So using a multi-channel approach. Number two, if they're not responding to your voicemail, it means that you have probably not left a compelling voicemail, right? Another thing you can do is to come up with a compelling voicemail. That's another tip, right? Something that gets their attention, something that gets them to want to respond, right? To either email you or call you back, right? The third thing is, one way you can do this is obviously, well, here's one way that I've done this to try to avoid voicemail, and it doesn't always work, but it does work sometimes. So I would get transferred to another department, whether that be the marketing department or maybe the financial, maybe I get transferred to the CFO or I get transferred to the CEO. And then when their assistant picks up the phone, right, their secretary say, "Oh, listen, I'm sorry, I got the wrong office. I got the wrong number. I got the wrong extension. I'm really trying to reach Joe in logistics or in shipping." And when they transfer that call from the CEO or CFO or from that other department, the person who is receiving that call will see where that call is coming from. Okay. So if they see a call being transferred from the CEO's office, okay, and it goes in and they see that, they're more likely to pick up that call when they think it's an executive from inside their organization, as opposed to just an inbound call from an outside line that they can't identify. Some phone systems will facilitate that, some won't, but that's kind of a little bit of a hack that you might try. Go to a different department. I used to like to go to the CFO or the CEO, go to their office, and then just say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I got the wrong extension," and then have them transfer you into that person. And sometimes that will work. So those are a few tips, Elliot. Hope that helps. Okay, Adrian asks, is it okay to not know everything when starting off your brokerage? Does your course offer enough info to start? It's totally okay to not know everything, okay? If you wait for all the lights to turn green in the morning before you head to work, you're always going to be late. There's an old saying like that, right? So no, you are not going to know the answer to every question and have every nuanced situation covered when you first get started. A lot of that you're going to learn on the job. You're going to learn that through trial and error. You're going to learn that through experience, right? Through doing, as opposed, you can't cover every aspect of everything in a training course. But my training course is well known to be the most cost-effective and comprehensive online training program. Again, we've had tens of thousands of students go through it. And so, yeah, it's more than enough to get you started. It's, from not knowing when I started this course, let me just back up. When I first got started in logistics, I had zero experience in logistics, transportation, trucking, or anything. You probably know more right now than I knew when I first got started. Okay. As you sit right now, you knew more than when I first got started, right? So the point is that I could have waited weeks or months to try to feel completely comfortable, but I realized that a lot of that learning was going to take place on the job. So when I decided to create Freight Broker Bootcamp, I remembered, I put myself back in that spot and I said, listen, what would have helped me? What would I have needed? You know, I was trying to hobble together information on YouTube, and I was trying to hobble together information on, I was trying to hobble information from the internet, all these different internet locations, and it just wasn't filling the gap, right? So yeah, absolutely. It's more than enough to get you started, right? And again, we've got tons of students that can prove that. We've got students that are agents that are doing 6 and 7 figures. We've got students that are brokers, some of which are now doing $1 million plus per month in sales, right? So yeah, we've been very, very fortunate. The course should be able to get you there, along with the community that we offer of other members, as well as our online support. So I hope that helps. Eric asks, I have a potential drayage customer. How do I come up with a quote? Where do I look for carriers for drayage? Well, there's only 2 places you can really look. Okay. One is a load board based on geography. And number 2, you can search based on a specific geography online and look for drayage carriers. So I would go to the load boards. I would try to find drayage carriers that are listing their equipment like power only or whatever specifics you need in the Buffalo market. That'd be the first place I would go. The second place I would go would be go to Google and search drayage carriers, Buffalo, New York. And then I would find some local drayage carriers. Okay. So those are the 2 places you can go. Or you can try to get referrals from people, but that might be like a needle in a haystack, right? Once you do find a drayage carrier, then they will probably know other drayage carriers and you can ask for references from them. Okay. If you know other brokers that are big into drayage, then you might be able to tap into them. I don't know if they'll give it out to you, but they might be willing to give you some drayage carriers in your region or in your geography. So I hope that helps. Good question. Phoenix asks, how do you build trust with a client? Well, I'm going to ask you the question, and you don't need to respond, but I want you to think about this. How does somebody that you just meet build trust with you? So I'm going to turn it back on you. I want you to think about that. How does somebody build trust with you if they've just met you? Say you went to a family event, or say you went to a party, or say you went out to dinner and you met somebody and you met them for the first time. How does somebody build trust with you? Well, somebody that builds trust with me might be slightly different than you. We might have different requirements, but for me, I'm looking for people, if they want to build trust, I want them to do what they say they're going to do. In the business world, one of the biggest measurements and measuring sticks when you're developing a new relationship with a vendor or with anybody or a colleague in an organization is, do they do what they say they're going to do? For example, if you tell a shipping prospect that you are going to email them some information within 1 hour after getting off the call, and you don't email them within an hour, you now are hurting the trust factor, not enhancing the trust factor. So the number one thing I think you can do is do what you say you're going to do. Number 2, I like when getting people to build trust for me. Getting someone to trust me, one of the things that I look for is social proof, right? I look for third-party validation. So if I have a testimonial from a customer or even a carrier or anybody that intersects with that industry, and they can provide a testimonial, a third-party testimonial saying that Dennis is honest, Dennis does what he says he's going to do, he's a great communicator, he's proactive, like those 7 expectations we talked about, right? That shippers have. And then having that type of a testimonial is third-party validation. Because again, there's an old saying, Jeffrey Gitomer, I got it from him years ago. He said, when you say it about yourself, it's bragging. But when someone else says it about you, it's proof. Okay. And so third-party validation is another great way to build trust in a new relationship with a prospect. I think that People that ask good questions have a tendency to build more trust than people that try to talk a lot. If you make it all about you when you're talking, that doesn't build trust. So there's an old saying, right? It's better to be interested versus interesting. If you try to be interesting and you make it all about you, then that kind of shows something. People don't want you to just talk about you. What I would want is if they make it about me and we start talking about it, right? And they're making the conversation about me, that's inherently going to build trust factor. So those are 3 or 4 things I think you can do to help enhance trust and a new relationship with a prospect. So I have one truck working on getting my brokerage set up within 30 days. How can I obtain a shipper with only one truck and maintain the relationship until I get my brokerage? Well, it's called sales. You're going to call shippers. You're going to tell them what you can provide for them. You're going to find out what their needs are, and you're going to try to create a solution. So there's no magic here. Be honest with the person and say, listen, I have one truck. I'm in the Buffalo area. I know you have refrigerated loads or flatbed loads or van loads coming out of here on a regular basis. I'm local. I'd love to work with you. I mean, that's the short version of it, right? But it really comes down to sales, right? If you have a truck, that's sometimes depending upon your situation, might be an even easier entry for you, to get that first load. But then eventually you're going to have to convert it over into brokerage, right? Because you will be selling 2 different solutions. If you're selling assets versus brokerage, those are 2 different solutions, right? Shippers are going to want to know whether you're loading your truck or you're loading a brokered load, right? A brokered truck. So yeah, I don't think there's any real change. It's like getting a shipper as a carrier. It's like getting a shipper as a broker. Getting that process, if you're going direct to shippers, is the same. You're just selling a slightly different service. When you're talking with a shipper and they ask for you to provide a rate quote or a rate sheet, do you include the shipper packet as an attachment with the quote? Yeah, you could provide that as a separate attachment on the email if you choose. Yeah, that's not unreasonable. I think that's fair. Chances are they're not going to fill it out, but it will save an email in the event that they agree to the rate, and then you don't have to send it. So yeah, I think you can send it. Chances are they're probably not going to read it. They may open it. They'll be like, oh, this is the setup pack. I'm not interested in that right now. You really got to get past the rating and the service requirements and the trust level before they're going to even worry about that setup. But you could include it as an attachment. It's not unreasonable, right? It's not going to send the wrong message. M Dealer says, is it possible that some shippers get denied by factoring company when a broker wants to factor the invoice? Yes. If a shipper has no credit or bad credit, then why would the factoring company take a risk? Yeah, so it's possible that a factoring company would deny a shipper if part of their job, part of their value to you is they're providing they're providing credit management. They're running credit on those shippers to determine their credit, right? So yeah, I think that's a value add. They're helping you to avoid losing money. If somebody's a brand, like for example, if someone's been in business less than a year, I would be shocked if a factoring company would touch them. If a shipper has been in business less than a year, most factoring companies probably won't touch them, I would say. Or if they've got really bad credit and they're not paying their other their other carriers and other providers and other vendors, why would you want to do business with them? I mean, here's the reality, guys. A small percentage of the time, there are going to be shippers who have bad credit that want to do business with you but you shouldn't do business with them on a credit basis unless they prepay. So if they prepay the shipments, right? Or maybe if they do COD, if you have a little bit of trust with them where they're paying you for every shipment, they're wiring you the money and you're not building up a big credit, debit with them, right? A debt with them, then yeah, I would say that, that's my 2 cents. Yeah, Haiti, if you're becoming a broker, most brokers need factoring. The one that my students talk about the most and probably enjoy working with the most is what they used to be called Axle payments and is now Denim, Denim. That's the one that most of my students and a lot of the industry is talking about. They work with new brokers. They've got good technology. They've got fair rates. They're flexible. I've heard a lot of great things. Now, for me, I never used factoring. I was fortunate enough to have a little bit of capital and was able to manage the credit and the cash flow. So I never used factoring, but I would tell you that probably 9 out of 10 of my students who've been successful launching and growing a brokerage have used factoring to get started in particular. Factoring is typically a short-term solution. It's not a long-term solution because it can be a little bit expensive. If you're paying a few percent off the top, that can get expensive. But yeah, it's a great starting point for the first year or two. And then maybe after the first couple of years, you can get your own credit line with the bank, and then you can kind of finance your own receivables versus paying somebody else to do it. Good question. Charles asks, what could be the best approach for customers through calls and emails? Okay, so if you're calling and emailing customers, I've said it before, and you can go through I have on my YouTube channel, all right, which is youtube.com/freight brokers. I'll pull up the banner here. Okay, let's see. If you go to my YouTube channel, if I can find it here somewhere. Okay, here it is right here. If you go to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/freight brokers, there's a playlist, and that playlist has dozens and dozens of freight broker sales training videos. Now, one of those videos and some of those videos talk about creating a compelling sales hook. So the hardest part about getting a shipper is the first 15 seconds, believe it or not. It's getting their attention. If you sound like everybody else, then there's a very good chance you're going to get treated like everybody else, which is you're not going to get their attention and they're going to come up with an excuse or an objection very early on, and it's going to be a short call. So you need to come up with a compelling sales hook, something that makes you sound different. And that's where gathering sales intelligence that I talk about a lot can help you do that. Because again, it's typically the most educated salesperson, the most educated freight broker that wins the race. Not the smoothest talking, not the person who makes the most phone calls or the most dials or the most emails. It's the person who's most educated, but not educated formally, educated about the prospect. They have a deep understanding of their products, a deep understanding of their knowledge, a deep understanding of their history, a deep understanding of the prospect themselves. Again, LinkedIn is a wealth of knowledge. The customer's website is a wealth of knowledge. Google is a wealth of knowledge where you can gather that. So gathering sales intelligence and then leveraging that as a way to be different, right? I've said it before. I'll say it again. I didn't come up with a saying. I heard it from Sally Hogshead. Different is better than better, especially when you're trying to get somebody's attention. Okay. So you got to figure out a way to be a little bit different. And if you do that, you'll get their attention. Rate quote. There's rating tools that are built into load boards like Truckstop and DAT. That's not the exclusive way that you do rates. If you pull it from the rating tools, they will be wrong very often. Okay. They'll either be very high or very low. They're not perfect. So what you have to do is you have to actually, if you want good spot market rate data, if you want to understand what your cost is to move a load from point A to point B, the best way to do that is to have a conversation with 3 or 4 or 5 carriers and then negotiate a rate. If you don't understand what the rates are for Buffalo to Atlanta flatbed loads, the best rate source is to, one, go to the load boards and look at the truck to load ratio. If there's a lot of trucks and not a lot of loads, right, then there's going to be a lot of competition. Rates are going to be lower. If there's a lot of loads and not a lot of trucks, then rates are going to go up because there's going to be a lot of competition for those trucks. So those load boards, the rating tools built within those load boards based on specific equipment and geography, and then finding carriers. I find that lane history is probably the best way to find carriers in a specific lane that you can then call and negotiate a rate and figure out where the bottom is and what a fair rate to pay a carrier is based on today's spot market. I didn't say the most expensive. I didn't say the most cheap. I said fair, right? And then from there, you can mark it up. That's the basic process. Until you understand what a refrigerated load from Buffalo to Atlanta costs, it could vary slightly from week to week, $5, $10, $15, $20, but it's not going to vary $100 or $200 from week to week, right? So once you start running those lanes regularly, you'll have a good understanding of what it costs, and then you can easily just mark it up. But the first time you do it, you're going to really need to do a little bit of research. And the best form of research is load boards and talking to carriers. Aaron, if a shipper does not pay a broker, what happens? Do they have a surety bond? No. Their shippers do not have surety bonds to work with brokers or with carriers direct. You are doing a credit assessment. So in the event that they don't pay their bills and they go out of business, you will have to write that off as bad debt. It'll be a default. You will still, as the broker, have to pay the carriers. You are responsible to pay the carriers. But part of doing business is you are going to have a little bit of risk, and that credit risk is part of it. That's why having a good factoring company or having somebody in your organization that understands credit and risk management can be valuable. Don't overthink it. Typically, a quote can simply be a pickup location, Buffalo, New York, delivery location, Atlanta, Georgia, equipment type, flatbed, right? And then an all-in rate or a line haul plus fuel rate. You can send that via email. You can put it into a spreadsheet. You can put it into a Google Doc, or maybe they have a bid package or a bid sheet or a rate sheet that they can send you, and then you can fit it into their format. So those, it doesn't have to be some formal big to-do proposal, right? Most times rates are sent via email. And if it's a small quote where you're only doing 2 or 3 lanes, right? Maybe it's Buffalo to Atlanta, Buffalo to Dallas, Buffalo to Boston, and it's all refrigerated. I would just simply put that in an email with the pick, the drop, the equipment type, and the cost. And then I would do that for each lane. Don't overcomplicate it. Again, remember, simplicity. Remember, make it easy. We just talked about this, right? Simplicity is a measure that a shipper will have. If you make everything very complex and very difficult, then that's going to create friction. So keep it simple. Question from Dennis. Do you feel it important to get a shipper under contract? Some shippers stated they don't like to be obligated, locked into a broker under contract. What are your thoughts? I would tell you that that's not uncommon, and it's no reason not to do business with a shipper. Put it this way. Contracts between brokers and shippers typically are just stating the obvious. They're not guaranteeing you X number of loads or X volume of loads or X amount of revenue, or they're not typically, those broker contracts and shipper contracts do not include an obligation when it comes to actual service requests, right? So those agreements are really just, hey, here is our stance on, here's what we expect from a service level. Here's what we require you as a broker to have as far as insurance. Here's some of the requirements we require from you. Here's the things that we can offer. Here's the roles and responsibilities, and here's what we're going to put together. Most of those contracts can be terminated at will anyway, so they're really not that valuable. I would tell you that in most cases, we didn't operate with a contract, or we operated under the shipper broker agreement that came from the shipper. So yeah, it's not a requirement. It's not a must. And very, very, very few shippers are going to give you a volume based contract, particularly as a startup, as a brand new relationship. You can negotiate volume rates and put it into a contract after you've got an established relationship, but even that's pretty rare. Edwin asks, how can I get my certificate/code as a broker? Where do I need to go? Okay. So if you want to become a broker, there's a basic process. If you just want to get your broker authority. So getting your broker authority is very easy. You go to the FMCSA website. You can file your broker application. There's some things you need to do. You need to get a surety bond. You need to do your BOC3. You need to do your UCR. And you can get your freight broker authority in the next month. Very, very simple. Not expensive. It's not that complex. Now, if you want to learn how to become a broker, right? And the sales component and the rating component and the dispatching component and the technology and the billing and all of that stuff. Well, that's why I put the course together, freightbrokerbootcamp.com. You can check that out. Again, we've trained over 10,000 students and we offer a 60-day 100% unconditional money back guarantee. We walk you through step by step exactly what you got to do. Okay. Very, very simple. So I hope that helps. The number one tip I'm going to tell you for finding carriers is load boards. That is where you're going to find carriers. Not only are you going to find carriers, but you're going to find carriers that are specific to your and your shipper's needs. So if your customer needs flatbeds and you're just talking to van carriers, then it's useless because they don't have the right equipment. Or if your shipper needs loads out of Buffalo and you're talking to trucks that are never in Buffalo and they're in Miami or Dallas or Portland, then that doesn't do you any good because no one's going to drive from Florida to do business in Buffalo. Okay. So what you need to do is you need to find shippers that are relevant and can help you provide a solution to your shipper. So geography is an important component and equipment type is an important component. And the two things that do that the best are load boards, the DAT, truck stop, or any load board. That's the best place to source carriers for a new broker. Now, once you're a new broker, you're not going to want to do business with a new carrier on every load. You're going to want to retain that carrier and do business with them over and over and over again, right? Anytime somebody comes to Buffalo, they're going to Atlanta, we're going to call XYZ. Anytime there's a load going from Buffalo to Boston, then we're going to call ABC, right? Now, they may or may not have a truck, but the fact is we like to do business with the same carriers over and over again. Listen, the fact is I did over $200 million as a freight broker, did business with probably over 40,000 different trucking companies in that time period. But I would tell you that more than half of the loads that we moved probably ran on 20 to 30% of the carriers that were in our database that we had done business with. 20 to 30% of our carriers did probably 80% of our loads. Okay. So yeah, we did business with the same carriers over and over again, but finding carriers, the best source for that is load boards, especially as a startup. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for today. I'm going to jump into my kitchen here in a minute, but number one, I want to thank you for joining me, right? I appreciate you being here, your engagement. Like and share the stream. Okay, that's the price of admission. If you're on YouTube, hit the like, hit the subscribe button, and make sure you hit the notification bell so you get notified whenever I put out a new live or weekly videos. I've been putting out 3, 4, 5 videos a week. Some of them are shorts, some of them are full-length videos, but check that out. Make sure you subscribe to YouTube. And if you are curious, you're sick and tired of trying to go to Google and YouTube and all these TikTok and Instagram and trying to piece together all the answers to the questions and to try to figure out how to become a successful freight broker, freight agent, stop the madness. Go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com, get enrolled. You get instant access to all of the training, and you get access to a community of thousands of past members, people that have taken my training, many of which have now built 6 and 7 and 8-figure businesses, right? You get access to that community to ask questions, and they now become a part of your peer group. And we offer dedicated online support, right? So make sure you get enrolled. Plus we offer a 60-day unconditional money back guarantee. For any reason, we'll give you 100% of your money back. No questions asked. So hope you guys enjoyed that. Thank you so much for being here. If you guys have questions after, go in the comments. I'll try to come back later in the week and maybe answer some of those questions, but great questions today. Congratulations to Ozan for winning the $50. Make sure you send me that message, and we'll see you guys next Monday for another Freight Broker Bootcamp Live.